So today we are covering module 4.3 and we will be talking about the slope-intercept form. Let's look at our learning target. I can rewrite linear equations in slope-intercept form. I can graph and interpret linear functions. So let's talk about what the slope-intercept form is. Right? So when I am writing an equation in the form of y is equal to mx plus b, this is my slope-intercept form. And where m is the slope, okay, so m is the slope, and what is b? B is my y-intercept. This is my y-intercept. Okay, so once again, the equation of the form y is equal to mx plus b is the slope-intercept form, and when an equation is not in slope-intercept form, you might want to rewrite it in the slope-intercept form because then it helps make graphing a lot simpler. All right, so if I give you something like y is equal to negative 2x plus 7, looking at this, I can see that it is a slope that is moving downwards, okay? And my slope is negative 2, so that the negative is telling me that the slope is moving down. All right, and also I can see that my 7 is where it is going to cut the y, as 0, 7 is the ordered pair where it is going to be cutting the y-axis because that is my y-intercept. So just looking at this, I can tell you what the slope of that graph is going to be and where it is cutting the y-axis, all right, or intersecting the y-axis. So let's go ahead and look at a problem on the whiteboard, and let's see what this is saying. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line of a slope of 4/7 and a y-intercept of 5. Okay, so we just talked about that what is the equation in slope-intercept form? It is y is equal to mx plus b. So now look what it's saying. It's telling me that the slope is this much. So this is my m. And it's telling me that the y-intercept of 5. So this is my b. So now all I'm going to do is replace those values into my slope-intercept form. And so I'm going to write y is equal to, my slope is 4/7 x plus it is 5. So here. And that is my slope-intercept form. Now let's do another one really quick so that you understand this concept. And let's say I have this one. Write an equation for the line with a slope of -5 and a y-intercept of 12. Okay, so once again, we are going to use the slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b, and I've been given the slope, which is m. I've been given the y-intercept, which is b, and then all I'm doing is substituting that into the equation. Y is equal to -5x plus 12. And so here is my equation written out. Now, next, let's look at this one. We are going to rewrite linear equations in slope-intercept form now. All right. So again, we are going to start with the original equation. And I know that the slope-intercept form, I am supposed to write it out in the format y is equal to mx plus b. So this is the format that I have to bring this equation in. So I'm going to start with that original equation. And obviously, if I'm trying to put it in the mx plus b format, I've got to move the x to this side. So let's use our properties. And what is the opposite of negative 22x is going to be positive, right? So inverse operation. So I'm going to add 22x to both sides of the equation. So plus 22x, whatever I do on one side, same thing here, plus 22x. And so I'm left with 8y is equal to 22x plus 4. Right? And then the next thing I'm looking at, I'm simplifying. And I know 8y because I'm trying to isolate the y so that I can have it in that format of y is equal to mx plus b. And so I'm going to divide both sides by 8 because the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So I'm using the division property of equality. Divide by 8. Whatever I do on one side, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And so 8 divided by 8, I get 1. And I have y is equal to, and so when I am taking each of them individually, this is what it means. I have to divide this by 8 and I have to divide this by 8. Okay, so this is like saying 22x over 8 plus 4 over 8. This is what it means. And then I am going to simplify it. And what do I get? I get y is equal to 22 divided by 8 gives me 2 and 7/7500 x. And 4 divided by 8, that is 1/2, which is 5/10. So then this is how I've simplified it. And here is my final answer when I've written it in the slope-intercept form. So here is a word problem, and it's saying, it's talking about jobs. The number of job openings in the United States during a recent year increased by an average of 600 million per month since May. In May, there were about 4 and 6,100 million jobs opening in the United States. Write an equation in slope-intercept form to represent the number of job openings in the United States in the months since May. So, of course, the first thing we have to look at what is the slope-intercept form. And my slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b. Y is equal to mx plus b is the format that I want to see this equation written out. So you are basically given that there were 4 and 6,100 million job openings in the United States in May, right? So let x be the number of months since May. So we're going to say x is equal to number of months since May. All right, and then we are going to say that y is the number of job openings in millions. So y is the number of job openings in millions, because that's what we're talking about, right? So if I am going to go ahead and write an equation out for this, because the number of job openings is 4 and 6,100 million, when x is equal to 0, your b, which is your y-intercept, is going to be 4 and 6,100. And because the number of job openings has increased by 600 million each month. Okay, each month. So this is going to be my, the slope, which is 600. So my M is, this is going to be, once again, this slope over here, so Y is equal to 600 million per month, right? So 0 and 600 millions per month, X plus, what is my y-intercept? It's where my x is, 0. And so my y-intercept is 4 and 6100. And so now I have an equation. Y is equal to 600x plus 4 and 6100 represents the number of job openings in the United States since May. There. And that is the equation in my y-intercept form, right? Now, I want to quickly talk to you about two things, and that is parameters and what a constant function is. So let me just show that to you so that we have that written out for us. So let's look at this one and what the parameters are, okay? So it's saying the slope-intercept form of a linear equation is y is equal to mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. The variables m and b are called parameters of the equation because changing either value is going to change the graph of the function. So once again, the slope and the y-intercept are called the parameters because if I change either value, it's going to change the entire graph of the equation of the function. All right, so now a constant function is a linear function of the form y is equal to b. Because constant functions where b is not equal to 0 do not cross the x-axis. And the graph of constant functions have a slope of 0. And the domain of a constant function is all real numbers and the range is b. So let's go ahead now that we've understood these two. We are going to solve some problems based on this. So let's look at the first one. Going to graph a linear function with a slope of -3/2 and a y-intercept of 4. Me again to write it in the slope-intercept form. What is my slope-intercept form? It is y is equal to mx plus b. Now, let's look at what m is. And this is my m, right? So y is equal to -3/2x plus my y-intercept is 4. So now I've written it out in my slope, in my, the slope-intercept form. So now we are going to go ahead and we are going to graph this. And I have my x and I have my y. And I know this is 0, right? And so I am going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay, and so when I look at this graph, I can see that my y-intercept is 4. So that means that the graph is cutting my y-axis or intersecting the y-axis at 0, 4. So here is my y-intercept, which is this. All right, then we know that it is a negative slope because it says -3/2. So let's talk about what the -3/2 means. Okay, now we know that is the change in y and the other one is the change in the x. So negative 3 is this is also called the rise. Okay, and the 2 is called the run. This is the run. So we can say basically what? Rise over run. So since it's a downward slope, we are going to go, let me use a different color so you can see what I am doing. Okay, so it is going down 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so my rise is negative 3. Okay, and my run is 2. So 1, 2. So this is where my line is going. So this is what? My run, which is 2. Okay, and then all I do is I am going to connect it. And so if I had again done another one, I'd be going 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. So basically this is what my graph is going to look like. Apologize, that doesn't look very straight. Here we go. Okay, and so this is what my graph is going to look like when I am plotting in the format of y is equal to mx plus b. So I know it's a negative slope once again, and this is how I'm going to plot it. Okay, now so now here's another question. It's saying graph 12x minus 3y is equal to 18. So when I have this, I want to write it in the equation in the slope-intercept form. Once again, y is equal to mx plus b. And this is the format I want to write it in. Makes my graphing a lot simpler. So in this case, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm looking at the original equation. And in order for me to write it like this, I need to bring the x to this side, right? So that's 12x. And what is the inverse of addition? It's subtraction. So I am going to do minus 12x. Whatever I do on one side of the equation, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So minus 12x. And so therefore, I get 12 minus 12. I have 0. And I have negative 3y is equal to negative 12x plus 18. So this is what I have right now. Okay? Now, next let's look at this. I'm trying to isolate the y. And what is my coefficient? Negative 3. So what is the inverse of multiplication? It's division. So I'm going to use the division property of equality. And I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. So I'm going to divide this by negative 3. And I am going to divide this by negative 3. All right? So negative 3 divided by negative 3, I get positive 1, and 1 times y gives me y is equal to. So now, obviously, what am I doing? This divided by this and this divided by this, right? So this is like separating it out. It says negative 12x divided by 3 plus by negative 3 plus 18 divided by negative 3. So this is what I'm basically doing, right? So when I simplify, I get y is equal to, what is negative 12 divided by negative 3? And I know that since I am dividing negative by negative, I am going to end up with a positive quotient. So negative 12 divided by negative 3 gives me 4x. And then what is 18 divided by negative 3? Now it is opposite signs, positive divided by negative. So I'm going to get minus, I'm going to negative, okay? So I get minus 6. Minus 6. All right? So here is my equation. My slope-intercept form in the format y is equal to 4x minus 6. So graphing what we just did, we solved is y is equal to 4x minus 6. I can see that my y-intercept is at negative 6, which is here. So my graph is crossing the line at this part where my ordered pair is 0, negative 6. And that's where the y-intercept is based on the slope-intercept form that I just solved. Then it's saying 4x. So what is my slope? It's 4. That means 4 means it's 4 over 1. Where 4 is the rise and 1 is the run. So knowing that it is 4x, it is a positive slope. That means it is going upwards. Okay, so I'm going to look at the rise, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 to the right, because that's what it's saying. The run is 1. So here is my slope, and my ordered pair is 1, -2. And then all I do is then I'm going to just connect it and carry on like this. And that's what my slope of this line is going to look like. So once again, the slope is rise over run, which is 4, and that is why my rise is 4 and my run is 1. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and graph a constant function, and we just talked about constant functions, and we said a constant function is is a linear function of the form y is equal to b, right? And once again, all I do in this case is it's given me the format. It's telling me that y is equal to 2. And so my first step, if I am plotting this, of course, here we go. Here's my coordinate graph, and I have, this is my 0, this is 1, this is 2. So if y is equal to 0, if y is equal to b, y is equal to 2, what is it saying? That my ordered pair, or the y-intercept is here. My ordered pair is 0, 2. And then the slope of y is equal to 2 is going to be 0, because no matter what the value of x is, y is still going to be 2, and that's basically what it's saying. So in this case, my line is going to be going, my slope of the line is like this, which is 0. Okay, so the slope of my line is 0, and I'm going to get a horizontal line for constant functions. If it says y is equal to -4, it's equal to -3x plus 8, 3x minus y is equal to 8. So we are trying to see which of these graphs are related to the function that is written out over here. Okay, so if I'm looking at the first one, and it's telling me that y is equal to -4. So again, that's a constant function. It's in the format y is equal to b, and so therefore I know, looking at that, it's going to be a straight horizontal line, and it's saying at -4. So I'm going to look over here, which one is at -4? Is this one, this graph. Okay, so this one is y is equal to -4, because look where the graph is plotted. Okay, and here is my y-intercept, right? But since it's saying that y is -4, that means whatever the value of x, y is going to be -4. So yes, it's going to be a horizontal line, and so this C, the graph C, is related to this equation here, okay, to that function over there. Now, let's look at the second one. It is saying y is equal to -3x plus 8. So first I need to find, what does this mean? This is the y-intercept. This is the y-intercept. And that means my graph is intersecting the y-axis at 0, 8. 0, 8. So that is my ordered pair. So let me find where 0, 8 is. So here we go. In this one, we have 0, 8. And there is my graph. And then it's saying that it's a negative slope because it's -3, or this graph is the one that is graph B, goes with this. All right, so once again, your change in y is -3, change in x is 1, and so therefore this one, B, is the one that goes with that. Let's look at this one here. Looking at it, I am first going to have to solve this and put it into the correct format, which is y is equal to mx plus b. So for that, I have to subtract 3x from both sides, right? And so when I subtract from both sides, what am I left with? This is gone, so I'm left with y minus y is equal to -3x plus 8. Right? And so then I have to multiply with -1. I'm trying to get rid of the minus here, and so I get y is equal to 3x minus 8. Right? I get y is equal to 3x minus 8. So let's look at this. So it's telling me that my y-intercept is at -8 based on what I just showed you. So where is -8? Here I have 0, -8 over here. Here is my y-intercept. And this graph is going up, because it's saying positive 3x. So that means rise of 3, run of 1. So this graph A, this is the one which is this graph, which is 3x minus y. 3x minus y is equal to 8. Okay? So let's match these graphs with their functions. The first one is saying y is equal to 8. Looking at that, I know it's going to be a horizontal line. No matter what x is, y is going to be 8. Okay, so therefore, the horizontal line at 8 is this one. So this function matches this graph. Now, let's look at the next one. It's saying 3x plus 7y is equal to -28. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to put it in the y is equal to mx plus b format. So plus 7y is equal to -28. For me to put it in the format, in the slope-intercept form, I have got to take the 3x on the other side. So minus 3x, whatever I do on one side, I do the same thing on the other side. And so I am left with 7y is equal to -3x minus 28. Right? And then I can see it's 7y. So I have to use now the division property of equality and divide both sides by 7. Right? I'm dividing by 7. That's what I'm doing. And so what am I left with? I'm left with y, because this is 1, is equal to -3x over 7 minus 4 times 7 is 28. Negative by positive gives me negative. So let's look at this one now. Which of these graphs, where is my I can see it's a negative slope just by looking at the negative. My the rises is going down 3 and the run is 7. And so I know that this slope is going downwards and it should be cutting the y-axis at -4. So this is the slope that is going downward, because that is also has the y intersect at -4. However, this slope is going upwards. So look, this is my slope that I'm looking for because this is going downwards and in the y-intercept. So this one is F. And then what's the last one that I'm left with? This is the same thing, but this slope is going upwards. And we have -4 here, but again, we have 3 up and 7 right. So this slope goes with this function. Because as long as you know your y-intercept, you know what your slope is, it is easy to match the graph with its function. All right, one last problem now. So let's look at this question. It's talking about shopping. The number of online shoppers in United States can be modeled by the equation -5 and 8800x plus y is equal to 172 and 3/10, where y represents the number of millions of online shoppers in the United States x years after 2010. Estimate the number of online shoppers in 2020. So when I'm looking at this, I need to find the number of people who shop online in 2020, and that's what it's talking about. And I can graph the given function, and then I can figure out from the graph how many people will be shopping online in 2020. So, of course, I am going to write it in the slope-intercept form. That is the first thing that I need to be doing. All right. And so I'm just going to do that on the next page because I've already gone ahead and made the graph for you. But, so here is my graph. Right? And so all I'm doing is I am putting it in my slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. And based on what I had earlier in my equation, it said, okay, it told me that it was -5 and 8800x plus y is equal to 172 and 3/10. So all I'm doing is I am now going to put it in the slope-intercept form, the slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. And so for that, I need to move this to the other side. So I'm going to have to add 5 and 8800x to both sides of the equation, because whatever I do on one side, I've got to do the same thing on the other side. So this is gone. I'm left with y is equal to 5 and 8800x plus 172 and 3/10. So now once I have it in this format, it becomes simple for me to solve this and graph it. So as you can see, my y-intercept is 172 and 3/10, which is here. And my slope is going to be, it's a positive slope because it is 5 and 8800, which is my m, and that is my rise, and my run is 1. So knowing this, I can go ahead and plot the graph like this. So now if I'm following that graph and I am looking at this in 2020, okay, there will be how many? We can be talking about number of shoppers in years after 2010. So at 2020, because 10 years from 2010 is 2020 up here. Okay, so if you're looking at that, then my shoppers in the United States will be approximately 230 million. just by looking at that graph. So all I need to do is again put it in my slope-intercept form, and that will make it possible for me to graph it, and then I can give an estimate of the number of shoppers. So once again, this again slope-intercept form, just remember y is equal to mx plus b. M stands for the slope and the b stands for the y-intercept. So knowing those 2 points, it is very possible to just plot those and then extend the line to form the graph. And that concludes our module 4.3. Have a fantastic day, everyone.